Yo, what's up, everybody? Long time no see. It's your boy CLT here doing a Midwest Weekly. I do apologize. We are a touch behind it, but myself and Herwick got pretty busy. We tried to set up some dates and couldn't. So, um, for now, you're stuck with me. But it's not just only me. We got one of the goats here. He's a friend. Him and the boys on Mappa Goes are just homies. None but love for them. It's one of our goated supports in the league, Mr. Nexus.
Howdy. Yeah, they're stuck with me too. But
Uh,
excited to fill in for the show. I think I was on here a few weeks ago and there were no calls for my head, so must have been doing, if not something right, at least nothing wrong. So happy to jump in and hopefully bang out a quick episode just to get some content out there.
well, I'm involved, so they know this is not going to be that quick. But I will say and apologize again. We're covering the quarterfinals here along with the loser bracket quarterfinals, as you guys can see on the screen here. So four series. The knowledge is dated, guys. These series happened a month ago. Bear with us. We're not gonna get into long of a tangent, even though I'm guaranteed at least two an episode. Sorry. Um, but yeah, so that's where we're at here. Maybe some of this will come back to Nexus during his series if he wants to remember it. Um, but yeah, so we're gonna get started here. Yep, I'm streaming with Nexus. We are good to go. So we're gonna start here with one of the bangers, honestly, of of probably the split is Femboys versus Stun Gaming Incarnate, which was an insane five-game series. Yes, I casted this. No, I don't remember much of it.
It
So,
was a month ago, to be fair.
uh,
And yeah, this is the banger.
it says 2 weeks. Nate, we're gonna call it a month. I like your number better. In that regard. So, yeah, I mean, this is this is why we're here. Best of five, and yeah, this we won't touch too much on the draft. But is there anything that like stands out here?
I think pretty standard across the board. One thing to definitely bring up is that Inferno, the Femboys jungler, was subbing in for Mac
Oh,
or
that's
Angel
right.
Boy in the 80 carry role. And, Inferno plays the game a decent chunk, right? Highest LP player in the league. So, you know,
Yes.
I think we talked about this too. This was like his fourth role played and just within the same split. So he's been
Yep.
everywhere. He can handle it, and honestly stepped up to the plate against what I've been touting as the best bottom lane in the league for a while now. Removing my own party just for the sake of non-biased factors there, and they did all right. Ezreal, Carmen, Ash, Seraphine, pretty standard. I think top side's also pretty standard, kind of scrappiness back and forth. But this game, pulling up the screenshot right now, it went 37 minutes, a lot of back and forth. But I think it was the top side of Incarnate that really propelled them to the victory later on.
Yeah. Without going into too lengthy of a discussion, I know talking with kind of my sixth man slash drafter on the Herald side, this Ezreal Karma is, at least in his opinion and what we've tried before, kind of an answer to the dreaded Ashe Seraphine lane as kind of a more of a higher elo take on this. Do you think this is an answer, or like what's your thoughts on this bot
Yes.
lane matchup?
Yeah, it's what you want to take into the Ash Seraphine just because you can play the range a little bit. I know Inferno's first death was just a gross misstep, and then I want to say they stabilized after this. Watching back I think I may have casted this too, and I just forgot everything as well. But
Oh yeah,
they
yeah, yeah.
navigated lane all right. I know the Ash was actually behind early on, and the Ezreal had a big lead, but playing Ezreal into all this dive, not at all easy to navigate. Rirka, not the best game one stat line wise, and said it was the top side of Incarnate that got the lead. Wintech, Jacob, on the Zahen. There was a mid-game fight. Think around. I mean, there were tons of mid-game fights, but I'm
Yeah.
looking right now at about like 17 minutes game time, so like 40 minutes on the video. Maybe that's jumping too far ahead. We're about to jump from 4-2 to over 10 kills on both sides. But these objective fights I remember them being super scrappy, tons of micro back and forth. I think Femboy's hands are some of the best in the league, and they lose it around team play scenarios. But Incarnate can match them just the same. When Lysander's on, he's on. You see it. He's already 6-1 in this fight, and then when it starts around the dragon, they just are able to wipe the floor with Femboys.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that take. I do think Femboys has the best hands in the league for sure. But Lysander is definitely the mid that I would probably put in the Rurika category as far as being the most aggressive, laning, and not afraid to scrap. I think he had the most deaths of any mid laner throughout the split. So checks out. That it doesn't surprise me. There's north of 30 kills at the 18-minute mark. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if there was like a moment in this game that was like this is the fight that turned it. It went so long and kills were so even across the board. It was all this back and forth. I think spacing wise, both AD carries did a phenomenal job into what can be very tough dive to kite back around. And it was just a banger game one to kick us off in what was a very long best of five.
yeah, yeah, I think this series was more like a brawl lobby than a than a Summoner's Rift. But yeah, I do remember quite a few pop off moments from Inferno. He on this Ezreal was definitely speaking some Korean in a lot of these fights, and I remember I think on several occasions when everybody else would die, with the exception of like Inferno plus another, whether it be Ashes or Wangrod, and he would just like 2v4, 1v3 like type of comebacks on these fights. Um, but yeah, overall this is a bloodbath of a game. I'm trying not to get too far ahead, but I think Incarnate won the dragon race. Actually, no, I think this was 3-3 or 3-4 on dragons. But Incarnate every time was getting these Barons, which there's not much wave clear on the Femboys comp, so Baron definitely accelerates this game quite a bit. And
100%.
yeah, so
I
they
think
end
that's
up
what made the difference.
yeah, so
Those big
41 to
objectives.
30 kills. Holy shit. Yeah, 37-minute game, and that is damn near a kill a minute. So, but yeah, Lysander 11-4, 16. Spirit Tracks Barbecue definitely picking it up this whole playoffs. They made a run. They were in the conversation for best bot lane. As I know, I cursed you guys with that take, but I thought they performed very very well here. And Rurika getting his blunder game of the series out early, 2-11, but I know he threw some punches back. So
Yeah, that's the way to say it. I mean, this
it's
this was it set the tone for the rest of the series.
yep.
That's for sure.
Yeah, so looking here right before the end, yeah, 4-2 on dragons, 3 mountain souls and an ocean. Like you're just super tanky. And I don't think Femboys has the greatest amount of damage, especially with a
Yeah, all your
pro.
damage is on Ezreal, uh,
Yeah,
and
that's
he can only do so much.
I know, and I've talked to Ruriko throughout the years. I know he subscribes to a lot of pro meta theory, and I normally give him shit for it. But this Proto Belt Oriana was like, it was not doing it for me. So, um,
Let him
yeah.
know.
Oh, there's a couple of other ones coming up that I definitely I got a little piece waiting for them.
Yeah,
So
can't wait.
so yeah, going over to game number two, which was yeah, the melee heavy draft here from Finboys. I do vaguely remember this So, yeah. Yeah, this is the Akali Yone draft with you got the Zeri Lulu. Now, this was to note pre-change Zeri, which I don't think was that strong. Maybe you can confirm that with me being more the bot lane enthusiast here. I just don't see Zeri enough to know her power level.
Yeah, I'm never a huge fan of the champ because I think a lot of other champs do the same thing but better. Mostly Unara, right? I think Unara was still open at this time. The Zeri, you're really just looking at it as maybe a comfort pick for Inferno, who is quote unquote off role. That's kind of the only guess I have for that. Okay, so it was Unara Silverban in the
Yep.
second phase. They held the Zeri pick. So yeah, I think looking for this late game style AD carry that can carry the game off of, fresh off of what was a great performance in game one, that was the angle. But well responded to by Incarnate, Barbecue locking in the Nautilus. That's the pick in Azeri, just makes it really tough to play. And then the rest of the map, all these melee top laners, this melee top side looking to scrap, they just never really got far enough off the ground. I think Jacob plays weak side incredibly. May I would say some of the best in the league at that. I feel like you don't really see him hard losing as much as some of our other top laners in the league do. Uh, and then Rurika on the Akali, I remember him getting some kills and starting to maybe snowball, but it's really tough to play Akali into this Wukong Kasante Nautilus frontline. And it was the bot lane, I think, that also really took off as well. You can see Barbecue 24 KP, Spirit Tracks 21 KP, and then Wintech on this Wukong finding a lead for his team as well. 11 kills to 1 kill on the side of Terraris. This was a lot more one-sided of a game, and I think most of that is just because of the snowballing nature of the comp and the lack of snowball that actually happened on the side of Femboys.
Yeah, I do remember, as you noted, like Rurika getting a couple side lane kills on the Lysander here, but they did not get ahead quick enough or ahead like just a big enough lead because you are on a massive timer. You got Syndra mid lane. You're seeing double tier coming out for Jacob and Spirit Tracks as well. So yeah, you're on a massive timer, and the Nautilus Wukong making life hard for this Zeri. Uh, yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
jungle top support went like 3 and 19 here between Wangrod, Terrace, and Ashes. So rough game for them. Rika and Inferno trying to do their best to hold the line here, but yeah.
yeah. A
Not
lot of that was, I think, the bot lane early on. I know we can probably speed through this one a bit more. Uh, and then Marine got, I can never say it right, but this Yone never got far enough ahead. And once Casante gets to his Iceborne Gauntlet, I feel like you're not really in threat of dying on the side lane, which is what Yone wants to do. And from there, just let Incarnate play their game, continue to stack objectives, and pretty much wraps. I think there was a little bit of fight back from the Femboys, but just not quite enough with the lead that the bottom lane was able to pull out for themselves.
Yeah, I mean we're at the 12-minute mark here, and we're seeing two dragons up. I didn't like to me the gold lead doesn't it is just a little over 3K here, but you have two dragons and you have a scaling comp. You're like, okay, I'm good to just chill. Um, after that, so it's also interesting. You have two tier champions here, but then you also have two Triforce champions. So like this mid game spike is actually much harder than I even would have given it credit for. You got the
Mm-hmm.
Triforce before Zeri even got the first item, so yeah, and Inferno's just trying to hold on for dear life, and that's really hard.
Yeah, I mean, Incarnates, they entered the league or entered playoffs here, number one off the regular season. I know the All Stars maybe didn't reflect the power rankings, at least the way I would have had it. But team play wise, they were on it this game, and just kind of talking about them more broadly because we only have this one series for them for this quarterfinals section. I don't know if the plan is to splice it up or you
Nah,
know,
this will be
do two
all one
separate
upload.
episodes. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
So
yeah, this will
we'll
be all one.
be talking about them later on another day. But yeah, just good team play all around. Maybe a few overextensions here or there, but I think just nature of kind of our league, that's always going to happen.
Mhm.
I think overall they have so many areas they can win through, and if not even win through, are otherwise stable with maybe the exception of Lysander there. So it's a good look for them, and it was a nice game too. But then Femboys looking to respond back through the last three games of the series.
Yeah, and actually, I believe Femboys did this. They did it another time in the bracket that we won't touch about, where they almost had a reverse sweep. And then last year, I think they had 3 out of 4 playoff series go to 5 games. Like these guys love to make it interesting.
Stealing our brand. That's the Mapoho Coalition brand. Go
Ooh.
the distance. At least in
Ooh.
regular season. Didn't really happen in playoffs. But
So
yeah, game three. This was a nice, I think, switch up. A surprising one, but you're putting Inferno not on this hyper carry now. And Murica definitely had himself a game on the Aurora. You talk about the volatility of Lysander, but in this game, I want to say Spirit Tracks kind of had the rough go about it. See if I can pull up the scoreboard. There's so many games to go through. I think I was talking to you. I was totaling them up, and it was like 25 games total to run through. But yeah,
yeah,
Spirit Tracks 4-11, Lysander also 11 deaths, and I know that was more later on, but I think this Caitlyn really suffered early. Not a fan of the Braum alongside Caitlyn. If I feel like a range support may have been better, especially into a double range bot lane of Jin Nico. I think that made it pretty tough to play, and we can speed through the game as well for that. But this time the Femboys bot lane, I think was the highlight, and Ririka as well, getting a good bounce back game, bunch of kills, and two carries of Femboys led the charge for this game three comeback.
yeah, yeah. I think this was the Femboys' like brand of league that they love to play, and that's having a really dominant, really strong laning phase, and then having their playmakers, which I know is like half their roster, pop off and do some really high level mechanical stuff. I know Rurika is a fantastic Aurora player. I have started to pick this champion up as well because this champion just hits like a Mack truck if she ever gets
Mm-hmm.
ahead, and I think this game kind of showcased it. Um, but Wang, I gotta give props to Wang Rod. He seems to be the only one that's gravitated towards this Aatrox pick, and he plays it very well. I believe got a solo killer two in this game as he got ahead. And you mentioned how good Jacob is at playing weak side. When you have Mbessa, I think you have to throw some type of resources at her, and to get her, kind of pressure pointing, whether it be split pushing or she can get an item and start scaling to dive the backline here. But there's no backline to dive here. Jin is a screen away, and everybody else is just in your face. Um, we've talked before about how Ashes sometimes can be a weak point, but he has shown a lot of experience and a lot of playmaking ability on this Nico here. I think you and him I think are the ones that are really really big on this Nico pick and make it look broken as fuck.
Yeah, I know there were some good engages this past weekend as well. I can't remember exactly who and don't want to name the wrong one, but yeah, Ash is on the Nico. As much as I, you know, kind of hate on the guy sometimes, this was a very solid game. I think navigated lane quite well. It's spacing into the Braum, using that double range advantage, and then finding some great ultis late game. As much of a stomp as this game two was for Incarnate, it was just the same on the side of Femboys. You can see they're the ones diving the tower this time around, getting a lead for their bottom lane. And without Spirit Tracks, you know, having this huge lead, then Lysander having this huge lead. Wintech still did a pretty darn good job. Uh, I think he's up there, best jungler in the league. I know there's a lot of talk over how strong this role is, but I mean, he really just doesn't miss. He always finds a way to keep himself in games. But on the Mundo, I feel like there's only so much you can do when your carries are behind. You just don't have the damage.
Yeah, yeah. Mundo can go anywhere, but if he's got no backup, he's still going to end up dying here. And I think this is honestly the perfect comp you kind of want into Caitlyn. No matter what you put in front of her, there's so much. We just watched them dive the turret, and then here's Nocturne the moment they get pushed back,
Boom.
and then when Nocturne then finally gets away, Nico and Jhin alter up, or Aurora's push. Like, there's just so much relentless cooldowns thrown at this Caitlyn here.
Mm-hmm. The coordination from Femboys this game was very solid. When you're playing this hard dive comp, you want to make sure you're all on the same page. And I know we harp on them for sometimes that looking not necessarily like the case, but for a lot of this game, when Terraris was pressing his ulti, it was the rest of the team diving in. When it was Ashes engaging, when it was even this Aatrox just running at the rest of the team, they made it happen. And Incarnate was kind of left running away and dying in the process.
Yeah, note Terrace is subbing in this series. I know you mentioned it earlier. Terrace played with Rurika, I believe, last split or last two splits. So there's a touch of familiarity there, but I agree. Their coordination this game was, I mean, it has to be on point to play a comp like this. So,
Mm-hmm.
yep, we got a 4-19 bot lane for Spirit Tracks and Barbecue. So definitely they got picked on quite a bit. And double-digit kills here from Rurika and Inferno to complete this game. A little 35-minute, punch back here to get themselves on the board in this series. So, yep.
Yeah, this was a big fight here. None of this is even coming back to me. I think it was both you and me on the cast. Or actually, I may have dipped for like a game or two, but
I think you
even
did,
still,
and then
this is all just
you and the beautiful voice himself, Mr. Sam Ladd, I think came for Game 5.
yeah,
For
great ace
this one.
there. Incarnate just didn't get their normal game plan, at least for the series off the road, where you have this winning bot lane and you can stack drags, you can get Wintech ahead and kind of navigate the game through some very solid hands play. Femboys just stomped him in the
Oh
bot
yeah,
lane this game, and I think that did it for him.
yeah. Rurika had the fully stacked Magi's in the middle of this
What a
game,
shout!
so of course has to build the proto belt.
That's the meta,
Not for me.
as they say. Fair
Nope.
enough. Fair enough.
I am not building proto belt unless it's on Silas. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
So game 4, it worked in this game 3. What did we have game 4 again? I think it was.
ooh.
Yeah.
I do remember this game for a little bit of it. Yeah. Actually, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go and just throw the draft up here. So, yeah. This Incarnate was doing some funky stuff in this draft. I mean, obviously you have Zyra Jace, both can go junglers. Even Set to some degree can go junglers, but um, I mean, can we believe Jinx and Nami were both left up in Game 4? Like in a Fearless.
Yeah. Solid picks for the bot lane of Femboys. And I think, like you said, a little bit funky for Incarnate, where, when I think Wintech, I think of a little more skirmishing junglers. I know that's kind of where the meta is, and not that he can't play this other stuff, but he had a great game on the Mundo and a great game on the Zyra, but whatever it is just not translating to wins for them. And so, the question gets asked, like, oh, okay, does he pull something out that can scrap a little more and be in the thick of things with damage, a bruiser style, which I know happened in game 5 and was happening in the first 2 games and was leading to wins. So something that I have been keeping an eye out for. But once again, this was a pretty surprisingly quick win, I would say, for Femboys. I think kills wise, I remember this one being pretty even, but
19 to 20 actually.
Femboys just on the oh wow, yeah, on the map they just had better pressure through the Yorick side lane. The set never really got off the ground too much on the counter pick, and then just subtle wins everywhere. They slowly led to favor of the femboys. This feels like I gotta watch this back, but it was it just one big fight and then it was over.
Uh, I'm struggling to remember it too. I know this was a really really entertaining laning phase because I mean Jacob's trying to fight, Wangrod's doing a lot, especially with the cages here, but Lysander and Rurika, like these two, I just give them a boxing glove and I'm just gonna I'm gonna sell tickets to this because they went at it in this laning phase. I know Rurika threw some really big punches here, and I think overall the range um, helped out for Femboys quite a bit in this. Hui was a big determining factor, and Jacob never really got off the ground with this R5 set. I don't. I'm not a top lane guy. Maybe you can DM Mr. Bufa. But I don't know. This set just wasn't doing it. I know it had a little bit of a CS lead, but uh, I just don't understand what it does here, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, and I'm starting to watch this back, and it was actually Incarnate who found themselves with a lead, and maybe it was just a draft diff on the side of Femboys where you have this Zac range coming to play, and you have Jinx Hui hitting you from super far away, and yeah, you have the Jace, but into like Set can't really do anything there. Zyra is going to struggle, and I know we'll speed through the early game, but I did fast forward to the end on my end, and it looked like it really was one big fight. So we'll see what got us to that point, as it was a bit of a lead for the side of Incarnate. You can see it here. They're doing their thing, right? They're stacking the drags. Wintex finding these picks and getting it done on this Zyra pick. A little out of the ordinary, but cool to see the dimensions that this team has. I think they just the rest of Femboys were able to stay in it. Keep themselves close enough gold wise with some wave clear on the side. Lysander did have the better of Rurica, at least from the looks of it, in terms of pushing inside lane, but Yorick on the other side of the map, the other side of the solo lanes at least, doing pretty well, keeping pressure there too.
I just think for me, it does come down to the draft because as much as Zyra is known of like being an anti-engage and being able to stand your ground, she really wants some type of like a super tank in front of her just so she can keep cycling her plants up and and the plants actually have like way more uptime when you ult them up. And I felt like this game was so fast paced that when Tech was throwing punches, but eventually like just didn't have the cooldowns to really like keep cycling through on this fight. Like I'm looking at his 3 items here at the 23-minute mark. Yes, they're on 2 Drakes, but it's straight Leandry, Shadow Flame, Death Cap. I don't remember much about this game, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's like the big punch that Femboys threw. He couldn't throw a big enough punch back, or at least not enough punches. Um,
Yeah,
and especially if
it's just so
Jinx,
much easier on
yeah,
the
yeah,
side of Femboys.
yeah. If Jinx ever gets a reset, I feel like she can space out the plants and just kind of mow down the rest of the incarnate comp.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I don't know if Rel ever got that Rel engage that you really want to see. Uh, say a while ago, didn't watch it back in studies for this, but you can even hear off after a good fight, right? They're still down like 6k gold. Incarnate plays side lanes well. When Lysander is in the game, they're stacking these drags, and it was just okay. Yeah, like a missed combo there. It's for a player of Barbecue's caliber, it's really just unacceptable. It's a rel combo, nothing too fast or crazy there, and then the rest of Incarnate, I think, just jumping in here and do they just die? Nice snipe.
Yeah, I mean, just from what I've seen, I feel like they're trying to go on the offensive when they really don't need to, and
Hmm.
it's just that's not what Zyra wants to do. When Zyra, which I would consider her, kind of lobby admin at this point, where you gotta follow her, you gotta put bodies in front of her and just let her do her job. But also, this Zac now stacking MR has the protoplasm. Zyra can put out damage like a DOT mage, like a Brand, like a Malzahar. So you're getting a lot of value out of this protoplasm. That's getting the healing upgraded from Spirit Visage along with picking up the blobs. So yeah, I don't think their punch is big enough. And even Spirit Tracks, when he gets online, I'm seeing he's close to 4 items here. He still doesn't have like a big enough front line to stall and create this front to back type of situation.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You can go to right here, like 320. I think this was kind of the moment. Zyra has no flash. You're posturing pretty aggressively on the side of Incarnate with no Drake or anything, or you're pushing side lanes and you're still looking to fight into this Baroned up Femboy squad. I think this was the fight that did it. I mean, you are up 5K, but
Oh,
this Zac just pops the Zyra. Jinx gets the reset. Well played by Inferno. Spirit Tracks can't really do anything there with the rest of his team. The barbecue engage does nothing. Jacob's in the top side this entire time. And yeah, I mean, T1 style fight where one does it and they just win. Yeah, this is something I'm sure Incarnate was kind of kicking themselves over because you got to imagine they have that if they, or at least have a better chance if they wait another 2 minutes. Maybe that's something they talked about, brought us back to the drawing board is like, yeah, we got to maybe play a little slower when we have game states like this
you also
because they have this lead, but it's not the type of lead that runs. I mean, yeah, this just ended it. It's crazy.
you also have like okay, that's a nice one for the damage numbers. Like also if this set is grouped up, which it looks like he's building overlords, he can legit
That's
grab Zac
insane.
out of the
They
jump
won
here and
with a
help him
gold
back.
deficit.
I actually look at that. I didn't even.
What the hell? Oh, that kind of tilts me. Oh, those moments are tough. Because you,
Yeah.
you know you should have that. I mean, regardless of comp, when you're that far ahead, that one hurts and was probably some nice momentum for Femboys in what otherwise should have been a lot tougher of a game. But they find that one fight just thanks to some superior positioning on their end, utilizing that Baron from earlier, getting waves pushed, and with Incarnate walking into them, like you said, too aggressively. That did it.
Hmm. Yep. And here we got game five, which all my memory tells me is this was the Rurika show at the beginning and then the Wintex show at the end.
Yes,
So yeah.
exactly that.
Um,
This is some Prime Zeka versus Prime Canyon type of stuff.
that
If we are
actually
the pro comp.
I mess with that so hard. That is exactly what it felt like. Incarnate got the heads up on why everybody bans Rurika Silas. This man OTP'd it. I think if there's anything Silas related, you go to this guy. He is the best Silas in the server. There is other ones. Zenma and even Lysander Silas has had plenty of pop off moments this split and throughout the course of this server's history, especially for Zenma. But I got much respect for Rurika. His first game in the server was on this. I casted it, and it's always a treat to watch. And he just from the word go, he uh he just told Lysander, look, you're gonna get all of it this game.
Yeah, and this is the volatility of Lysander as well, right?
Hmm.
He giveth and he taketh. And with Rurika Silas, he just found these angles.
Hmm.
You can see him playing together with Terraris to find that one. But then on the other side, top side of the map here, right? Wintex Kane. And I remember, I take this as my formal apology. I'm not sure who in Incarnate watches the show. I know Barbecue definitely does. So please pass this along. I was hating on the Kane alongside I think some of the fellow cast, and we
Yep.
very much ate our words. Got the form stacks, kept kind of building it up, and that's what turned the difference for Incarnate in the end. I think bottom lane, I remember being pretty stable throughout, but it was just mid lane running it early on.
Talk about Yunara getting the game 5 of Fearless, by the way. Like, what? Yeah, I know I was not a fan of Kane, but I think the one thing I was even less of a fan was this Galio top, especially into a Jax, because I think if my memory is correct, like Wengrod had quite a bit of his way with Jacob until he got some items underneath his belt. Evidently, I think we talked to him in the post-game interview. Galio can kind of, I don't want to say outscales, but can start to push back here
Hmm.
against the Jax. So, but yeah, Wintech got a lot of the orbs to go Red Cane off of this Jax. Well, I mean, off of the whole top side of the map. They're triple melee here, but yeah, this Canyon mode got activated once he got about 2 or 3 items on this cane, and uh,
That shutdown on the Silas was huge too.
yeah, I don't think I see Ashes in the in-game screen have Grievous wounds, but I think I remember not seeing Grievous wounds on this Femboy squad until like basically the damage was already done.
Yeah, it was a great game for Red Cade just because of all the melee characters you're playing against. When Yunara's not ahead, it is really tough to kill the Kane. I just maybe was expecting the Yunara to be a little more in the game, and then this Kane just kind of ran the side lane. As much as Femboys play the side lane, I think Incarnate may be just kind of a poor matchup for them because that's what Incarnate likes to do through Lysander, and Wintech knows how to navigate that. I think the bot lane of Incarnate as well, they can keep themselves safe. See, Wangrod had quite a few moments of overextension throughout the series. So did Lysander, to be fair. At a certain point, this victor just isn't worth anything, and a lot of it was on the Kane. I think we can try to zoom up to when he gets ahead. But yeah, I mean, Silas was running this early game, and I know Rirka, not too much more he could have done, at least early on.
Yeah, I yeah, this Silas, I mean, we see him right now here at the 20-minute mark, has 10 kills, so averaging 2 kills a minute is pretty insane. But we see Red Cane, 2 items as well. So actually on the item front matching it, and actually up in CS compared to what Rika has. So yeah, a lot more. You're seeing Tyr and Roa on this Galio, so he's definitely kind of spiking with this Kane as well. On the other side, I thought this Varus pick played a pivotal role because of the E ground that he leaves with the Grievous wounds. So
Hmm.
you have free Grievous wounds here and access on your team. Protoplasm Harness picked up by Shen, and of course you have um, the AP Bruiser item by Silas. I'm sorry, the name escapes me, but you have a lot of innate healing coming out of this Femboys comp. So I do remember a few fights where the E worked ground came in pretty heavily, but yeah, after Wintech got off the ground, this Silas is impossible to kill. I mean, they're barely denting him
Yeah,
in this skirmish here.
I mean, Silas just doesn't match up well into the Kane, even with that massive lead, 10-2 at this point. The Magi stacks and not enough damage on the other side of the map. Spirit tracks, kind of artillery support over top. This is where the Galio pick comes in too. It's extra support for the Kane, and they did their thing. They stacked some dragons, kept the game close. A few deaths from Lysander more against once again on the other side of the map, but the rest of his team was definitely able to pick up the slack. And I think that's what makes Incarnate kind of dangerous is when you lose to Incarnate, or I don't know if I want to word it like that, but when Lysander has an off game like this, and I think it'd be fair to call it quite the off game, and you still lose. And I have Lysander as like once again when he's on best mid in the league, right?
Hmm.
But when he has these off games and the rest of the team can still pick up the slack in massive fashion, then that's what makes this team so scary is all these avenues of winning and what is usually stability.
Yeah, 100% agree. They just, to me, this team doesn't really like panic. Is the best way I can find to phrase it. Even when Lysander, which let's just be honest, he was freaking running at this game. I'll be that harsh. He at least knows after 2 items here, let it pick up the Grievous and start to be kind of a utility ish mage here and just support the winning members and strong members of the team. So yeah, yeah, it looks like we got a Baron here from Femboys. If I remember correctly, I think this is kind of where this starts to become the Wintech show. Not that it wasn't beforehand, but he's just able to always just turn fights, make it do anything he wants. And Silas's damage will fall off. I think he got to the 25 stacks, but then had a few multiple deaths. So
I mean, this was still game of the week. I know it came down to we see 37 minutes in, but Soul for Incarnate, it came down to Elder, and I remember it being a pretty crazy kind of Elder sequence. I don't remember if there was anything significant before then, other than the standard back and forth.
oh,
Um,
he steals the Elder. I think.
yeah, well, it wasn't. I wouldn't even call it a steal. I remember I remember this one now because it was so tense in late game scenario. As femboys, you're kind of behind here just because you haven't really won a fight in the last 10 minutes. And so I think the call here was just to start the Elder, run the flip. This is probably the best chance you're going to have. And then the zoning just didn't quite make it in time. It's so tense, these late game scenarios, but that makes it so exciting. Rain God jumps in first and he's zoning a little bit of space. You can see they're trying to finish it, but Wintech loops around the side. Ashes goes down instead of up to zone the rest of the team, 3 members instead of one. And then Wintech just finds his way in. That's always going to be a Kane favorite smite as well, just because you have a little extra damage on your Q slash. And,
Mm-hmm.
and then once they get Elder, it's wraps. It's everything that leads up to that was really super fun to watch live. And then even watching it back 2-3 weeks later, pretty interesting to dissect. So your thoughts on that whole Elder Dance, 40 minutes into the game here, into this Game 5 Silver Scrapes?
Uh, no, I think you nailed it on the head. This I think both teams need Elder to close out this game. I mean, we're gonna watch Wintech just Superman into this with Elder, but yeah, I think both teams need Elder to end here, and I agree that Ashes probably could have positioned better, but I feel bad for like nitpicking it, but actually in this scenario, like you have to. That's what separates the good from the great in this regard. But they still.
Yeah, I mean that's the crazy part, right? Is like, do you? Because Ashes is technically zoning 3 there. It's just the Keen that goes in. I know we were talking about
Oh,
this a
that's
bunch
right.
on all the
We replayed
replays,
this. Yeah.
where it's like, how do you actually navigate this better? Because Incarnate, they find their way in, and it's honestly a bit of luck from Incarnate, right? Where like you didn't actually have the positioning here, and you relied on some heroics out of Wintech once again coming in saving the day. But Ashes is hooked there. It's really tough to make the call to flash the other way. Maybe Rurica does some zoning. Maybe there's more DPS on the Baron, whatever it is. Despite the fact we're saying all this, maybe Incarnate should have been on the Elder earlier and holding zone positioning. They have the gold lead to do so. You have the range and the Poke Varus and the Victor. But I mean, that's what makes this game so fun. Just
Hmm.
the game of League of Legends, right? When you get to these crazy late game moments, it's so much little micro that may have made the difference. But in the end, it's this Wintech Kane once again reigning supreme. And we talked about it a bunch, but definitely the hero of the match.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like you said it just perfectly. Like the micro of these situations is it's so hard to play these perfect in these type of moments. Um, and I mean I can relate a lot because I feel like we do this a lot on my Herald League team where like we're winning, we're in a good game state, but then our positioning is what forces an objective flip, and it's executing those and making sure you do those in the moment, that just is, it feels impossible unless you run through it 1,000 times, which I think is, it's so hard to simulate this kind of moment. But yeah, Wintech just throwing the hero smite out there, the perfectly executed with the Q. Um, I think here, yeah, I try to show how low this dragon got. Yeah, he smited it within like 1 frame from 1660 to smite with the Q. So perfectly executed. Wintech, the hero on this Kayn, which as much work as he put in this whole game for it to come down to him is a little poetic. So, but yep.
Definitely.
But
And then
yeah,
one series down.
yeah, one series
Oh,
down, and it did not. Oh, it almost took an hour. Shit.
it's all
Whoopsie.
good. The other ones were all 3-0s. This was definitely the banger of the quarterfinals.
Yep, for sure. This one definitely got a series of the playoffs, I think, for so far. Though there is another few bangers that we'll touch in some other episodes. Not this one though. So, um, over on the other side of the bracket, we have Stun Gaming Mythos um, versus Hidden Leaf in a very, very surprising, in my opinion, quick little 3-0.
Yeah, I don't remember being tuned in for all this. I remember just joining the stream when Rexy was on FaceTime from Hawaii or something.
Oh, that's right, that was this one.
That was kind of the vibe of the series. Rexy just watching his team just fall apart without him, and I don't even think it was like a Rexy thing, to be honest. It really was just losing everywhere. You like to think maybe one player can make that much of a difference. And as much as we may meme the Camille support in this incoming game too, everywhere else lost as well. So, or didn't really come apart with a huge win. So, well, I don't think it would have been a 3-0 if Rexy was here. Hidden Leaf came to play on the day and really just ran through Mythos in very dominant fashion. And kind of looking all these score lines back, and it was all them.
Yeah, yeah, this was. I was kind of shocked. I did not catch too much of the series. Unironically, my timing when I did tune into this series, I got the Rexy face cam treatment there, but um, Hidden Leaf, like, not to go too much into this draft. I kind of, I won't say kind of, like, I actually really like this Veigar here. I'm surprised it's a um it's not picked more, but I'm also surprised they had the balls to just pull it out game one when I feel like there are some other options in there. So I know Astros definitely was trying to bully him around in the early game, but once Veigar gets Roa, he's gonna be a tanky motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean, great zone control comp, especially into a Mythos side who wants to kind of dive in. And I did misspeak. I guess Mythos, they did actually have somewhat of a lead early. These laners getting off the ground. The Bard Ezreal, the substitutes are Ojiro doing all right in this game one, but I think it was those mid game, late game team fights that made the difference. And Hidden Leaf just playing together pretty well in those scenarios when they're the ones kind of dictating the fight. It looks really good for them. Where you have Akaza kind of jumping in on the front foot. I think that's where Hidden Leaf are at their best. And with the zone control they've drafted around them, that made it pretty simple to do. So despite the fact that Mythos, was in it kills wise, gold wise, I don't know. I look at this game and it feels like it was always Hidden Leafs to claim.
Yeah, yeah, I think yet again I'm 100% with you. The super zone control comp I think is underrated, and I don't think a lot of teams can play it well. I think the big thing that allows this Vagar to feel comfortable is the lanes around it. Like you have what I would consider probably the best blind duo lane here. It does obviously have some counters we touched on earlier, but Ashe Seraphine can play so many different situations and play them well and be adept to them. And then you have a strong top side with Zinzal and Renekton, two bruisers, two fighters that are super good at creating space and force your backline to retreat. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I thought this felt the hidden leaf like the prep work that I think they came in. Maybe they knew Mythos was going to go after Ari, and maybe Astros they took that away from they took that into playing against them, and maybe we've seen some OP.GGs and Astro was spamming it. Or he's a prolific Ari player, so setting them up in the draft for this, we've seen Astros did get the first blood here, but ultimately they didn't get to a big enough lead, and this is again this Vagar. Once he gets to one item, as long as he's not like super behind, like a like a 13 to 15 minute Roa, he's okay with being down a little bit.
Agreed. So yeah, I think we can kind of zoom through at least the rest of this early game. I know not too much action was happening as we were talking all this stuff here. I think it was some good roams though. Out of, you have a very playmaking potential side of the map with this Pantheon Ari as well as the Bard getting off on the map, and it looks like that's what they did. I think 129's Pantheon is probably his best pick. I think he always does pretty good on it, just finding a way to keep pace in terms of farm and also get on the map with kills. I think he's really good at using the Grand Starfall to make stuff happen as well. So that was a good pick to see. And then just through the mid game, they had this lead, but I think Hidden Leaf just crawling it back with all that comp talk we said. You get this Baron here 20 or start this Baron 21 minutes in, turn off of it, and that's when things really start to turn, right? They now have the gold lead. They're the ones pushing the pace, and they can just run with it.
Yeah, Gojo, as we kind of just seen there, playing this really well, getting the Baron. Once you get Baron and like as you're this team from Hidden Leaf side, I feel like this is just impossible to like lose or not, just increase your gold lead here. I mean, you're up 3K. Yeah, two dragons over by Mythos, but I mean, these two dragons really don't do much as far as solo dragons here. So, um, from what I'm gathering, again, I didn't watch too much of the series. Mythos did a pretty good job trying to find picks and at least have their comp kind of skew more into that. But I just, well, I say that, and they just lost 4 out of 5 Barons. So interesting. Three
Yeah,
dragons.
I mean, good fight from Mythos there.
Yeah.
I wonder if this was just another scenario where it's one big fight out of Leaf that
Oh,
makes it
there's
happen.
there's the Ash Seraphim moment.
Nice arrow.
Hmm.
He does get out though. Yeah, I'm sure there must have just been a game defining moment later on here. Can't remember how long this game one went. Uh,
I had it pulled up. Where's it at? Damn it! There's so many games. Okay, here we go. I mean, it went to 30 minutes.
okay.
So actually, this looks like
Yeah, I
kind
mean,
of the fight that started to break this open here. Let me go back and see where this one started. So it looks like they tried to collapse onto this side lane here, with TP coming out here from Vagar, but this Ashe is starting to glide. Arthidios is able to create some space, and I mean, this is a 3K health Vagar.
Yeah, there you go. That was a nice fight from them. When a game this close, that's where you go maybe, oh, would have been nice to have the main squad. Don't know what Rexy does behind the scenes for the squad in terms of, maybe some shot calling and helping navigate that. But you see Zorojiro get picked off right in front of the Drake.
Ooh,
And then
nice
once
turn off
again,
the
Hidden
Drake.
Leaf can just kind of yeah, exactly. Turn off the Drake,
Oh,
sweep the fight, and turn this into a win.
Gojiro putting in work. Maki with the nice Ash ult on the Guma. But they ultimately pick off Zoro here, who was subbing in for Rexy. So I think I remember Rexy in chat watching this like, I'm on the way back, guys. But yep, there's second Baron here. Second Baron just kind of seals everything up. Didn't get the soul. So Astros with a really valuable Zanyas there. Zoro with the um, what is the Bard ult again?
Tempered Fate.
Tempered Fate. Okay, that was my second guess. And yeah, Baron minions putting in work. It seems like this is a trend that for a lot of the standard like game one, even high prio game two mages, they just don't have the relentless amount of wave clear that say some of the scaling mages have. We've seen Anivia come out quite a bit. You can group Asol and even like Victor in there. So Baron ends up becoming like very valuable here. Oh, this was a tanky ass Vagar. I just caught that. Roa and the Proto Belt. Whew. Yeah. So, but yeah, 31-minute banger here. Maki putting up an impressive 13, 4, and 10 skill line. And Mythos, yeah. Um, Astros had himself a really nice game, but just got outscaled. Let's just be honest there. So, yep.
In game two, this was the Camille support incident. I heard the
Oh,
tales. I don't even hate it here. I don't know what Zorodro plays, but you got to sub. Have some fun with it. But into the Thresh, or rather the counterpick Thresh, it wonders here. And Toji and Maki, you can just look at the end game score line: 17 and 3 on this Varus,
ho ho.
0-2 and 24 on this Thresh. I mean, they just smurfed it up here. And I don't want to maybe misspeak again with this game, but at least looking at the end score, really just feels like Hidden Leaf won everywhere, uh, and most especially in the bottom lane. I think it was kind of close in the top side. I want to give a shout out to Seko. He really turned himself around. I wasn't too big on him. Understand he was an off role player, and top lane does require a lot of laning nuance. But he definitely got off the ground in this game.
Ho.
Had a massive CS lead 10 minutes in, using this Cassante pretty well, but it didn't do anything thanks to how far off the ground Maki got.
Yeah. Looking at as you referenced the scoreline here, yeah, Seko got himself an early lead, especially in the laning phase. Believe got himself a few plates. But yeah, this Camille support also like I think big heads up on Akuza to just I know Malphite isn't the flashiest jungle. We've seen like him and Hairwiz pull it out. I think Hairwiz was probably the big merchant throughout the split for the Malphite jungle, but going full like dive bomb AP, just taking some mayhem augments here and just full dive bombing this back line. But if you look at this outside of the Cassante, who kind of has to deal with Jax here in the split, who's tanking this Malphite ult or creating space into it? It's there's really nobody. So I thought that was pretty heads up. Oh, Maki,
Yeah, you
well
get
played by
Arthidius
Astros.
Lux as well. That usually doesn't go through. Like
Okay,
the way Arthidius plays, just pretty safe, pretty far back. You think the Zeraths of the world, and Lux fits into that well. You can just sit back, farm up, do his job, not die, and as long as his team is somewhat in it, he's going to make an impact in these mid to late games. that's what this Lux does well. He's a champ that plays to his strengths, and worked out well for them.
Um, I'm gonna go on a small tangent here, just because there's a boatload of Lux players in Herald. I hate Lux mains. God
Yeah, I do too.
damn it! Will you just trade with me? Do something in the laning phase. I play Lux and I'm like, I get bored. I want to scrap. I want to fight. Lux players are like, oh, you want to trade? And I'm gonna ult the wave every 45 seconds when there's a cannon minion, and like
Hmm.
it's Malzahar levels of like, I'm just gonna cheat the laning phase. Like I don't even need to learn how to lane. I'm just gonna cheat it.
Yep, the
Ugh,
onus is on the rest of the team to punish it, and
I
that's
I
there's
fucking
two
hate it.
classes of mid laners, and it's I do prefer the Lysanders and the Rurikas of the world who like to scrap it up, but if it works and they're winning, there's only so much I can hate
Yeah.
on it. Um, it's not the brand of league I like. It's what I refer to personally as unethical league, but
I like
enjoy enjoy sitting back, farm it
I'm
up, man,
I'm
and
stealing that one.
you know let yourself get a win thanks to some superior team play rather than individual play.
Yeah.
Not saying he didn't play it good, right? Not trying to let this come across as too disrespectful, but I think
No.
you kind of get what I'm saying.
Mhm.
It's just the style of play that it lends itself to. Uh, it's
Oh,
it's tilting to play against. It's
it's
it warps the game, and if it worked out here, you can see him staying alive, not really trading.
it. Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, I'm for it. Like I've been a Lux player, and I think Lux, when you play mid, Lux is like the thresh of mid lane, where like eventually you OTP it and you just have fun with it because it's Lux. But yeah, goddamn, I've been on the receiving end of a few Luxes and scrims, and it's like, just play with me, please. Like, play the game. So,
yeah, I
but
get it. We
yeah,
won't harp on it too much. And the
no,
rest of the game, I think it was once again mid game that Hidden Leaf took over.
yep. I do like the this is one of the rare times where I don't mind the Roa build coming out for Victor, but overall, like between Lux, between Varus and Akuza, who's just a ticking time bomb every time his ult is off cooldown, it's you just there's no one to soak any of these cooldowns here.
Hmm.
So, yep. But Zoro getting himself a nice little pick there. I thought Toji had himself a really. I think Toji's actually had himself a fantastic playoffs. I think he's been
Agreed. Yeah.
pretty slept on all split. I know later, or it might have been even the interview after this, where Akuzan noted that him and Toji like linking up and making stuff happen here. Like, oh my lord.
Yeah. I think that's why he maybe doesn't get the recognition there. Players like Rexy and Barbecue, looking at the supports left, they tend to win through lane. And not that Toji's not a good laner. I think he's pretty solid in lane, but I think more of his strengths come from getting out of lane and getting onto the map and making stuff happen alongside Akaza, and then all the glory goes to the jungler or the top side, or maybe even a little bit Arthidius, who can pick up some kills and be the benefactor of it. But a lot of that, the engine behind a lot of that is this support play and this map movement. So yeah, it's definitely deserves shout outs.
Yep. So just kind of jumping through this before I get on another Lux rant again. So 26-13, Dragons all in Hidden Leaf's favor. Um, yeah, it's something.
I mean, at this point, they just kind of run away with it, and you're so far ahead. Even with Seko's tanky health bar that he built up, you can't really stand face in front of the Varus, and you know Guma on Jin can't really do anything into a Malphite. That's just how it works. So I think we'll probably see it shortly here in the video where just Hidden Leaf can run at them and win a fight, continue to win fights, and then eventually turn that into a Nexus explosion.
Yep, yep. I seen a little glimpse of the Nexus explosion here. So, oh, got some dead members here. Let's see.
Yeah, I think this was just a soul fight where, if you're Mythos, you say let's just try to contest. Maybe it works. If not, hey, we get out of the game quicker and go to the third one. But the gold leads 2
Oh,
more.
that hook.
Nice hook. Uh,
Okay,
and that
that's
does it.
yeah, nice hooks for sure. I think Toji had himself a few montage moments on hooks, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so going into game number 3 here. Let's see. Mythos having themselves a little Oriana Vi combo here. Hidden Leaf. What is? I don't think I've actually even seen this draft. What is this draft here?
I mean, it worked. You got some comfort picks. Arthidius Mel, we talked about a little bit on the play style, and Mel kind of fits
Oh,
that vein. You can trade from afar, and he built himself up a nice lead. The bot lane on this brand Nami, they didn't really do too much. I think it was all the top side that was the highlight here. Akaza really getting off the ground running. He finished with 13 kills, Arthidius with 10 kills, and then Ornn with just a pretty stable lead as well. So despite the fact that, once again, I don't think Zorodro played that bad early on. Uh, the differences were in the substitute, at least, compared to what you would normally see out of Mythos. Maybe came later on in the mid game, and how they're setting up for fights, how they're navigating these situations, and Hidden Leaf just on this coordinated front looked really solid.
yeah. I actually didn't even notice or catch the brand Nami. That feels like an old school like mage double mage bot lane here. Um, is this some tech that's been around for a bit or?
Nami just pairs up well with mage supports, the way
Okay.
Imperial Mandate can proc. And so, if you're looking to play that style, which I don't know what the call was, but I think it was probably some flex pick stuff where you have this brand who could theoretically go into jungle for Akaza, and you end up putting it bot, and it'll just scale up nicely as well, because all you got to do is press a few buttons late game and get this crazy damage off before you die, and that's just the nature of brand. So see Akaza get off to an early kill there. I think this game I'll speed through it on my own end once again to make sure I'm not misspeaking in terms of maybe how much of a stomp it was. But just looking at the scoreline, it really feels like it was all Hidden Leaf, despite the fact that Mythos were in all these games at least through as soon as like 15 minutes. They have gold leads. They just never really converted them.
Yep. Um. Okay. Yeah. That's kind of what I want to see how the Ornn. I just don't know if this Ornn ever gets a lead, which it looks like he did. How you kill this with the Mythos draft? Um. They are fairly low on damage, but looks like Maki actually had a little bit of a hard time in this lane here. I'm at around the 9-minute mark. Let me
Yeah.
fast forward. 0 and 2. Um, Kinetic
I
Ruker
mean, it's not
versus
an easy
Ornn.
lane, and Guma and Zorodro, I think they did pretty well in the lane. I think Guma's really good in lane as an AD carry in this league, especially on things like the Corki, these more hyper aggressive AD carry picks. That's what I like to see Guma on, and they made it happen early with a nice lead. But it's brand. It plays similar to that Lux style, where as long as you're in a spot to press some of these buttons late game, you're always going to provide utility. And with Akaza getting off the ground, he sees 4-0 here. It it was enough for Hidden Leaf. Great fight from Mythos though.
Yeah. Feels like every time we pan over this replay, it's fairly Mythos favored fights, but now you got Big Daddy Gorgero here, like just doing whatever the hell he wants. Installing some time here, even pushes Mythos out of this dragon for the rest of his team to show up. So, um, yeah, gets a dragon. They're up 2 dragons. Actually down in gold here at the 17 minutes. So definitely looks like probably one of the the best game of the series, or the most even one for sure here.
Yeah, I keep misspeaking. Mythos did have leads, but they just get picked off late and then they end up losing.
Mhm.
Hidden Leaf just navigated these late game fights better, and I think a lot of that is just this lead you have on the top side of the map in this game 3 at least.
Oh, okay. I see you, Mythos. That was a nice little turnaround. Nice Oriole. Aurora coming in. 10-10 here. Let's go about 10 minutes into the future here. See, this 6 minutes, sorry. Looks like another dragon picked up, and it's the Akuza. Nope, he ends up dying. Arthidios gets. Okay, what broke this game open? 'Cause this looks.
It's a good question. Yeah, it is. It is. Despite the fact that Mythos have all these angles, it is still gold lead on Leaf. They have 3 dragons as well, so maybe it's that. I think ultimately it's one of those series where Mythos just looks back to the drawing board for a potential rematch, which spoiler did end up happening later. Maybe it's some picks later on. Yeah, great pick by Arthidius, and I think this fight may have done it where you sweep them in front of, I presume, a spawning Drake. I think, yeah, objective timer right there, dragon spawn. So maybe that was it. Just one misstep from Astros, one pick off from Arthidius, and they turned it into a Drake, into a Baron, and from there you can run over the game with Chemtech Soul on this Sehen.
Yep. Oh yeah, Chemtech Souls goes so friggin' hard here.
See, Arthidius did get picked off, so there still was some fight back, but maybe it was just
Yeah.
Akaza at the end of the day reigning supreme.
I have to turn my Discord on to streamer mode because I am getting
Messy, messy game.
notifications here. Was not prepared for that. Okay, Discord. Where the fudge is streamer mode?
So take your time. I know you're planning on playing some with some homies tonight. If you want to finish up the rest of the quarterfinals later, I'm playing game
No,
for that.
no, we can
Getting a
keep going.
teensy tired myself. Okay, that works too.
Yeah, we can kind of sprint it through here, but yeah, I think we kind of had our answer here as a little bit of a slow burn answer, but Orin items plus Chemtech Soul just makes this low damage comp for Mythos have to work even harder, and that's kind of where this game ended up going. So, oh, I missed an explosive team fight at the end. My bad. All right, so we got Baron here. Arthidia. Oh my lord.
Oof,
Okay.
pop.
Yep. And
And they can just
Maki.
run them down from that point.
Yeah. Yep. Fucking shields on Ornn. Good lord. Ornn actually like winning the shopkeeper. That's another rant for another league. Hint, hint, wink, wink. um, yeah, and then they just run it from there. So, all right, cool, cool. Yep, that is our 3-0 for Mythos versus Hidden Leaf here. And oh, I actually been letting this one go. Whoopsie. And so this is Scorch versus Mythos. So with Mythos losing to Hidden Leaf 3-0 in the or in the upper bracket quarterfinals, they then go to the. I like loser bracket a little bit better, but I understand where people can say lower bracket. Um, but yeah, so they do gotta.
World's
Sorry.
too soft nowadays. Call it losers bracket CLT.
That is how that came out, but I don't. Yeah, that's fair. I can't really backtrack off that one. Um, but
I'm calling
yes.
it losers bracket.
All right, cool, cool. I have at least somebody else in here. Um, so yeah, we've got Scorch versus Mythos in this series, and also what I believe was a 3-0. Let
Yeah,
me pull. that
If
one
I didn't
real
get to
quick.
glaze Mythos enough, here's the chance to do so.
Oh,
The return of Rexy,
back to back
and
Mythos glazing.
it made a difference.
So you get
That's
this is the first
that's what I will
episode
say.
where we got back to back glazing of the same team. So
Well,
so
I'm saying if I didn't do it enough, the focus was on Hidden Leaf because they were the ones that 3-0'd ultimately. Um, but on the flip side, hey, they go and flip the script next week. See Seko trading well. But I remember this, at least scoreline wise, once again, being all Rexy and Guma in the bottom lane.
yeah. Um. God damn it! Now my phone's going off. Yeah, yeah. This was Rexy came back with a fury here, and um, I like Scorch's comp. And I'll keep it short and sweet. And Xin Zhao with what I would consider double enchanter. I know Lux isn't like full enchanter, but AP Lux the shields do get pretty fat. Um, I just I this York pick I think is what kind of does it for me because he's really putting stress on the map, which if you have a death ball team comp like Protect the President, which in this case there's two presidents, you've got Rusty and Boonstra. Again, no disrespect to Lux mid damage because we heard that rant last series, but like the the York really kind of puts this game in kind of a chaotic pace, and I like it. This is actually the second time we're seeing Lux versus Victor matchup. I'm pretty sure. So um, I like it. I do think the Jax helps with late game. Corki is still so surprising on how much burst he has late game, but uh, to keep it short and sweet, what's your thoughts on this Janna here as the kind of the support guy here?
Yeah, it's coming in as a counter pick to the Leona, right? But it just didn't do its job. It's a good pick looking at what you're going up against into Leona and to Jax, but if you can't be reliably, getting the peel done, and a lot of that is just Rexy finding these pretty impressive angles with the flash, the hex flash, hiding in vision, making it tough for Calico to peel that off. And what was, I think Calico and Boonstra, something they've done pretty well throughout the whole league season has been, stabilizing bot lane. I know Bananasaur got voted to first team All Star. I think a lot of Scorch, goes through their mid jungle and bot lane stabilizes. So this was a bit of a surprise to me, and maybe props to Rexy and Guma, where against this usually pretty stable bot lane, they were able to find all these angles, and that makes the Janna just look awful. But I see the vision there, and the theory crafting is hard to disagree with, if that makes sense.
I I'm I I follow you. I just feel like you either need to be one of the best Jannas ever, and your team can play around it better. Because I think there's something to be said if you're bringing out a unique pick that your team is practiced with it, let alone you. And that's not a shot at Caligo, by the way. I think she's a fantastic player. I know she's been working hard to fight the Enchanter kind of moniker that she's been given. She's been playing a lot of aggressive supports in the Herald League, but I don't think Janna in this specific comp is is optimal as say a Milio, or I could even argue like a Soraka here actually goes pretty
Hmm.
hard. Um, just they have a really big infatuation with this Janna, and sometimes it works, and I think this is one of the times it doesn't.
Yeah, that's it's fair to say it's a lot more volatile just because you're
I
really
like
putting
that
the
word, yeah.
onus on yourself where you have to make you wouldn't think Janna is volatile, right? But it's a lot more reliant on your execution, whereas those other names you listed out in other enchanters, you can get away with a quote unquote bad game and still have positive impact. Whereas Janna, a bad game means you just aren't doing anything with the kit that you're given in the game, and you're almost a waste of a pick. And I don't think it was that egregious in this game, but at least for lane, it was this Corki that was able to get ahead.
Yeah. I think the Corki poke. Victor has solid poke, solid wave clear, and like this Chinks has got to dodge so much this game that I think you're kind of playing Frogger here, and the moment you get hit by something, you're just dead. But
Yeah, you see 6-0 on this Corki. They really just took off, and at this point, I think there were maybe a few overextensions to maybe get some kills back or spread the love, but it really was all just Mythos after the mid game, and I think a lot of that was Rexy getting on the map and Corki having this huge lead to sit free. Seka just running down Boonstra. A great game out of Yorick. I touched on it a little last series, but Seka has seriously turned himself around as a top laner. He was not playing this well early on in the split, and champ pool wise, game impact wise, really making a statement, at least in this series, showing how far he's come.
yep, 100% agree. I also love this protoplasm here. For Rexy as well, I think this is a very slept on item by supports. Um,
Yeah,
just
that's something, I don't know how much Rexy watches the show, but from what I've seen, he actually just builds it on everyone first item, which I like. I think his style of play fits well, where you're kind of leading the charge, holding front line, and I like Rexy on those champions as well. I think that's when Mythos plays best, when he's on these engaged champs and the rest of the team can follow up behind him and think there's no hesitation to pull the trigger. When you have that protoplasm in the pocket, and you can see it there, just diving these towers, maybe a little too deep there, but when you have this gold lead, it doesn't matter. But yeah, anyway, when you have the protoplasm in the back pocket, it gives you kind of that extra courage to make that dive happen. And do they end it here? Just just about 20 minutes in? Not
no,
quite, but
damn it.
it's functionally over.
Yes. Yep. Gets the Baron. Lux's wave clear is minimal. Also, 2-item Lux. That feels so bad. Lux is by nature a burst mage with some poke qualities, so if she gets behind, that laser becomes way less threatening. 2 items on Boonstra. Yeah, this is over.
Yeah, I will
Also,
say Boonstra, did pretty good that game in staying alive. Only 2 deaths on a immobile carry like Jinx in a game like that is seriously impressive, and that's what makes Scorch, so scary. Is they find themselves ways to stay in games. A lot of that comes from just their tenacity, their grit, but just not enough when you're that far behind early on. And Mythos did a great job of snowballing it forward.
yep, agreed. So let's move over to game number 2. Oh, okay. This is okay. Ashe Seraphine's B1 Caitlyn. Caitlyn Bard. Alright, cool. Galio versus Anivia. I don't think Galio had a fun time with that one.
No, he did not. I think maybe the call was to set up for this Galio Kindred thing. That's my thinking there, but it was once again just this was. Oh, I don't remember the games. I don't want to say it was a stomp when it wasn't, but I
Yeah, it
remember
was.
this being another dominant kind of 3-0 this time in favor of Mythos. You see the Anivia already doing her thing.
Yep. Oh, took the electrocute. Didn't even know the Deathfire touch tech.
Ah, gotta put the league on that still. I'm
Yeah,
sure. I'm
this
sure
might
we'll
have been
see
the
that come out.
yeah, this might have been the first series, like right after the new season changes came in. So you get a pass,
Hmm.
Astros.
Yeah, especially with that solo kill, right?
Yeah, yeah. Hey,
And then I don't
learning
know the rest of the early game. If we can kind of speed through this one too.
with pleasure.
I think Ashe Seraphine, didn't quite get off the ground. Caitlyn, you want to pick range into the Ashe Seraphine. That's generally a good answer to it. Um, and with Guma and Rexy able to get the push, that worked out well for them. See a bit of an overextension here from 129. Gives a kill back over. I think just getting caught counter jungling. But yeah, I mean, it was just well played from the Mythos squad. Rexy on the Bard. I'm always a fan of seeing Bard come out. Just One of
Hmm.
my favorite champs. Always fun to watch. Technically, some synergy there with the Anivia, uh,
Yeah, I mean,
but definitely some synergy with the Caitlyn. You
hmm
have the Tempered Fate into Trap combo. That's always a good shout to see. And they just kind of built themselves up this subtle lead everywhere. And I do remember Rusty having a pretty good game on the Kindred for how at least compared to how the rest of his team was doing. I think this guy is honestly pretty underrated. He finds these avenues to make plays happen on pretty unique champions. You don't really see anyone else bringing out the Amumu. Kindred is not a pick you see too much either, at least traditionally or through the regular season of the league. But he navigated it pretty well from what I remember.
yeah, 7-3-3 scoreline. Just pulled up the end game. So, yeah, I mean, definitely. I don't really like mind the Kindred here. Um, there's a lot of like DOT damage, and really love long team fights with this Mythos comp. So I think Rusty has avenues of really having good timings on the ult, and he can even outpace the Jarvan a little bit. So also you got Galio here. It's a tried and true combo. I can respect it, but again, it's 3 and 10 here from the bot lane. Definitely look like they got picked on quite a bit here. And Guma 11-1-6 on this Caitlyn. Uh, just there's really not much threat to this Caitlyn, to be honest. You have Aatrox Galio trying to walk into her. Doesn't sound like a fun time if she's just even decent with her traps.
Agreed. Yeah, not too much dive, and unless you get ahead elsewhere and can use the range of a superior Kindred, then it's not going to look pretty. You see here they're already 3,500 up, and I think they just once similar to game one took that and ran with it. You see it's ballooned to over 7K here, and they can really just run over the map with some solid play out of the whole squad, knowing when to find the engages, really picking on this Galio and this Ashe. As much as Boonstra was able to keep himself safe in that first game, game two, really suffering into Jarvan, Anivia, Bard. It's really tough to navigate Ashe into all those picks just because you don't have any mobility. And then Mythos just kind of run away with it again.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not gonna go too far in on it. I think the R5 Aatrox is interesting when you're showing Anivia Rumble B4 B5 here. I would have been curious if there was a different pick potentially. Galio being a pretty decent top lane answer. Again, assuming all the players can play it. If there was a different answer for the Anivia mid here from Scorch, I know Banana plays a mean Xerath, which I don't think would have been too terrible here with the Ashe and Seraphine over the top as well. But that's always just hindsight 2020. I'm just looking at the end of this as I'm letting this play. We're seeing a lot of armor built on Banana Sword. Actually, really, outside of the boots, no MR on this Galio. Which, I mean, I'm I'm pretty happy with that. If I'm on the side of Mythos, when you have a Rumble and an Anivia, Rumble building Bloodletters second, maybe that persuaded him to not build MR, but I still like. I think you have to at least go, if not the Hollow Radiance, maybe a Force of Nature, because there's a lot of micro damage coming out AP wise. So, oh, it's interesting overall, but yeah, Scorch ends up taking, or not Scorch, Mythos takes this game to. Looking here, at the game three, ho ho, everybody's most hated champion, the Yuumi.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's particularly like strong. And then when you have a counter pick of the Nautilus on someone like Rexy, I think you're generally fine with it. I think the bigger thing here is I touched on it. I think 129's Pantheon is The let me process before I go for the full hot take. I think if there's one champ you have to ban out of the players we have left in this series or through the playoffs, it would be 129's Pantheon. Not no by no means a one trick, but I just feel like that's his best pick, and he navigates it so well, and it usually just feels like it wins from everything I've seen through the year. And when you pair it up with Astros Talia, that's a great look. And the rest of the comp, it's just so well designed around diving in on forward. This is where the Yumi kind of suffers early on here, is you don't have this early game pressure. Great engage out of the bot lane. You blow 3 flashes, but you do get it done. Seko staying alive on the top side. And then this Pantheon was just off to it. Started the snowballing.
Yeah, I think because I know my current jungler plays quite a bit of Pantheon. I think the thing that is so underrated from this champion is if you wanted to go bruiser, it can get fairly tanky with the E. If you wanted to do damage, it does a truckload of damage. I think it's the most underrated Serpent's Fang user in the game, so you always have that like little bit of utility to go in with as well. Like the champion just kinda does everything while also being able to just respawn anywhere on the map. Um, and I
Mm-hmm.
know nothing of this game, but I'm seeing already how short range the Scorch comp is against a Talia and a Pantheon, and then you have Lethality Varus coming over top of it. This just doesn't look very fun to play. So, oh yeah, oh my
Yeah, and
lord. I
Scorch
just
really didn't put themselves in like an early game comp, and not that they typically do. But you talk about Scorch, and one of the things they do so well is they keep things even. And if they can get it too late, I still hold in terms of late game like macro decisions, they're probably the best team in the league at playing like a slower style, playing their game and not making mistakes. But in the early game, when you don't have picks that can kind of facilitate some fight back, and people like Mythos and 129 are getting on the map more than Rusty on this Kane, which really can't do much early, then you find yourself in a pretty tough situation. You see some trading happening here already where this Varus is already 1 kill up. Here's this Kane in the mid jungle 2v2. Pantheon Talia is just always going to run over a
oh
Kane.
yeah.
And, I don't know what was open. I don't know the call, maybe switching things up when you're down 2-0. This didn't necessarily feel like a classic Scorch game from all the great play we've seen out of them through the regular season.
Yeah. I was kind of glimpsing at the draft now. Yeah. I mean, there was a couple of audibles you could call in draft, but I think letting letting Varus Pantheon Nautilus come up from Mythos, like that's a strong first 3 picks out of the draft here, and it's really hard to like pivot a lot of things into it. Maybe there's a world where Shen can go jungle, Kane could go top. You could argue those two may have swapped because I know Ares is absolutely psychotic and loves the Kane top. Um, but I don't know. That's hindsight. I don't know what they're comfortable with. I have no insight on that, but this just looks hard to play. I think as teams have seen Scorch, they know that their late game macro is so good, so they want to challenge them in the early game, and I think that's a pretty good way of challenging them and prepping towards them. So, but yeah, this game, looking at the end green screen, got just ugly real fast here.
It's so tough to play, and I think Scorch without Rusty and Bananasaur really making an impact early, it's a tough look for them. And well played to Mythos on just snowballing it to a very nice bounce back week for them. 3-0, Rexy's return, and you know great showing from pretty much every player here. Seko also having himself a game. Astros doing his thing. Still think Guma in these fights always finding a way to make an impact. this is definitely another Rexy game. It's easier when you're playing into the Yumi to make all these map impacts, and once you get started off early for sure. But see, only 3 KP on the 80 carry, but 14 KP on the Nautilus. And it tells you how this game went. They played to their strengths, their comp, roaming around, making stuff happen, and getting a nice clean 3-0 for themselves.
Yep, yep. Very nice, very quick 3-0 here. And yeah, welcome back from vacation, Rexy, on this one. So,
Yeah,
but
and shout out Scorch. Now that
oh yeah, yeah.
we're closing it out and they're out. I think from a player's perspective, it's nice to have teams with kind of those distinct styles in the league and distinct different styles. And they played. I don't know the whole history, but finishing fourth in the regular season, very solid showing in my eyes. Bananasaur getting the shout for first team All Star, getting the recognition there. I think that's pretty dope for them as well. And they're a solid team, and the way they're structured is, I think, just pretty cool from once again from a player perspective on how they can play their style and how much it worked through the season.
Hmm.
Just unfortunately falling a bit short in the playoffs this time.
Yeah, yeah. Agreed. I know they've been longstanding members of the server, and they never seem to conform to a meta, which I think is what I hold at the highest regard and the most respect from them. Um, no one's busting out Lucian Yumi. Um, their jungle picks, as you mentioned, we've seen a Kindred last game, but we've seen other like fightery, brawly type of junglers out of Rusty.
You
So
got to ban as a Mumu.
got the Amumu there as well. Herwick kind of had a little bit of the moniker going too, where it felt like he was playing his own jungle meta there for a bit. But I think Rusty also has like his own little meta, or this team in general has their own little meta of what they perceive good, which I can totally respect, and it makes for some Oh my lord, what a shockwave! Um, there. So yeah, yeah, good showing, good tournament overall from them. Um, just ran into a very strong Mythos team and a really good early game team. So yeah, but now we will go to our last series, which we are at about hour 37. So we're actually
Yeah, we were
moving,
keeping it quick, huh?
keeping it quick here. Oh, and look at this.
Oh,
Do you want me to just scroll past this? Do you want to skip this one or?
no, not at all. Femboys deserve the shout for what was a very solid 3-0 from them.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
This game one, I can talk through it. I have no issue doing that. I think this game one was just a very solid setup from them. I think the way Ashes and Moon Prince play, I know I got a bit target banned this series, and I think a lot of that was game plan over kind of strengths of both teams. I think Tango and I tend to have pretty good laning, especially into what is usually a weaker lane in Moon Prince and Ashes. But in this game one, when they get this Mel Nami combo, I touched on it earlier, where Nami with these mages works so well. They can just sit back, and maybe the Alistar was a mistake here in hindsight, but they really just navigated it well. You can see it there, poking us out, really making the lane at least tough for us to find any trades in, and that kept bot lane stable. And the rest of the map, the Femboys' hands, they're really darn good. And I remember this game especially came down to this pretty crazy flash ulti from Rirka's Cassiopeia around a Grubs fight. You can watch some of the trading down here where you just see we never really got it off the ground. And props to Ashes and Moon Prince for kind of shutting down what I know our team was hoping to be more of a kill lane or win threat for us.
Yeah, I got nothing to add to that.
Yeah, you're good. I was
This
the one who
is
played the game. I obviously have my own reflections. Just want to give the time to
yeah.
spread it there. I know Mr. Bufa on the Shen. The Xin Zhao top was a pretty cool pick from Noah or a Rangod,
Hmm.
however you want to say it, making that happen. Even this bot lane gank, 4 versus 2, they find a 1-for-1 trade back onto our Ashe. Some more scrapping in the top lane.
Oh,
Mr. Boofus Shen finding a way.
I felt like he might have been ready for this little AP Zinzao.
I'll tell you, we weren't. The
Oh,
thought was just Shen sounds like he could be good, and he navigated it well. I think the Xin Zhao definitely got the better of him early on, but did a good job, somewhat recovering. And I think it was just you can kind of fast forward through the next maybe 2.5 minutes or so to get to the point that I think really turned this game one around. There's some bot lane plays happening. They do a good job. You can kind of see it on the map, keeping us under tower. And then in this top lane, things start to break out right now where maybe some fights are happening. And I'm on the map here, which, maybe that looks like a good play, right? We're 4 versus 3, but this Cassiopeia, bang,
oh,
flash, 4-man stun. And that really turned it all around for them. We should have numbers there. We should have the win, or at least something a little more even. But instead, we get our Ashe pushed out because I'm off the map. And as a support, when you roam and give up something like that bot and you don't get the advantage on the other side of the map, which should be strong side of the map, it is just an awful feeling. Props to the top side of Femboys for turning that one around with a sub jungler too, Polar jumping in, making some stuff happen in this game one as well as a bit later. But I think Ririka, that play, you know, one of those game winning plays that really got them kind of off to good shape. You can see their gold leads 2,500 right now.
uh, yeah, yeah. Insane roam and play, but that is definitely Rika is a playmaker. The Rylai's first is pretty weird. Um, but I kind of respect it. But yeah, I think getting those kills. I think two of them got onto this Cassio, getting her early, getting into that really cheap Rylai is ineffective. Makes it super super tough to play. Um, let's see, is this arrow land? No.
No,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
you can see it go into effect the Rylai's
Ooh.
instantly, and in the bottom lane we're trying to trade, and this is probably on me for not really respecting the Mel damage. He has the Ludens in, going for a combo, thinking that one or two tower shots makes a difference, but was definitely a bad engage on my end that kind of killed my AD carry. And at this point of the game, you can even see the bounties. 3,500 gold down. We're not in a great spot, and they're only going to continue to get stronger and stronger. And a few misplays around the map. I think that was a taunt flash miss. Maybe that makes a kill a little easier. Uh, we weren't too great at using the Shen ults. Those were kind of navigated rough, but it was really just Femboys playing to their comp strengths well. This Jarvan getting around the map, and then this Nami and Mel just sitting on top of each other, making the poke happen, and not really giving us an angle back into the game after that early grub skirmish.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't really get a chance to pull this draft up, but yeah, this R5 Casio I think makes your guys' life just difficult. We've seen a lot of that going through the replays here. 4 kill start at 13 minutes. This is yeah, becomes very very difficult for you guys. I love the newly acquired Omni boots on the Casio here, though he failed to bring DFT. So he brought the old Conquer setup. So yeah, it uh it definitely looks like at this position becomes a really tough game, even though Vi still can just one shot any support she wants to, evidently. From that replay, but yeah, I'll keep skimming through this, but do you remember kind
Kind of
of?
just a bunch of fights that got slowly lost, right? They played together really well. The only real side lane pick avenues we had were on Cassiopeia, who gets quite tanky between Rylai's and Archangels, and then just kiting.
Yeah.
And then this Mel really took over kills and damage chart wise, just with
Ooh.
the Nami alongside her. We could never really find an angle to punish her. We had maybe some angles that could get us back in it, but it just wasn't quite enough to close the gap. We had a very low damage comp as well, so when you're not ahead, it's very tough to navigate and make proactive plays that do actually punish the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And the Femboys, they did a good job kind of holding their lines. We got a few kills, but it's just comp wise, it's really tough for us to play. So
Oh yeah, they got
as
the
long as
Mountain
they
Soul.
don't do any egregious throws, then this game is all theirs, and that's exactly what ended up happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Three mountains dragons, including the Mountain Soul here. It's so hard for Vi to really play this game, even with the Shen as backup. But oh, you guys fought back quite a bit here. Whoopsie.
Yeah, we found some angles. Lead on the Vise, really good at finding these angles. I think Sam led Talia, is always pretty decent at finding some good shoves, and he navigates the space really well on the Talia, and then able to sneak in there with a few combos from follow up with the teams, but just not quite a big enough difference. And this Baron was what ultimately ended it. They just enough's enough. Group is 5, force a fight. We decide to take it, and we definitely don't take the fight. They run us over, and that concluded what kills wise looks like a pretty close game one, but playing these games, it always feels like we were behind off of some great topside play out of them, and then some otherwise consistent bottom lane play from Ashes and Mel.
Yep. So
That brings us to game 2. You want to dissect this draft?
um yeah, let's just make sure I had the right in game screen here. So I like the aggressiveness that you guys are showing in draft. I know Sivir Syndra is a really nice combo because what Syndra she has like moderate amounts of wave clear, especially if uncontested, but Sivir just double downs on the fact that like wave clear, if you can control the wave states early, they do scale well together. They spike pretty closely, and if you're stacking a bunch of armor, the Syndra has like bonus true damage and still can put a beating on tanks. Both of them like to kind of play at similar ranges and have some self defensive stats. This LeBlanc though, I know this is another like Rurika style champion. In years in the past, Syndra, when she was at like a really solid early game, like lane bully state, she was kind of considered as a check or a skill check to LeBlanc. Now, uh, I don't know how that lane would go. That's the one thing that does kind of stand out. But also now this four-man grouping of Yanar, Lulu, Sejuani, LeBlanc can create some chaos here. I do like Pike because I think he's really a good response to chaos by kind of just doing it on his own terms. The Mordekaiser seems very interesting, um, especially into a Jax. I thought traditionally Jax wins that matchup, but I could be mistaken on that. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it's all pretty on from what our perspective was. I think the LeBlanc definitely a counter pick into the Syndra. Uh, I tend to trust players' words on what they want and what picks they want. We have a pretty communal drafting style, but looking back, maybe the blind Syndra with something like LeBlanc Open wasn't the play just because it is a nice matchup in favor of LeBlanc, and in the hands of a player like Rurica, that's always going to be pretty scary. The pike in the bottom lane was to similar to game one. Let's try to get a kill lane going, and then Mr. Bufa in the top lane. Polar on the Sejuani really sat up here and and definitely made it worth his time. You can see there's this level 2 kind of sitting around only on the red buff, the enemy red buff as well. That was 1 kill onto Mr. Bufa. And then what he did, he went to his own jungle, farmed another like 2 3 camps. You can kind of fast it forward a little bit, and then he just went back top lane, sat there for Mr. Bufa to return, and got a repeat kill. And when you're on this Mordekaiser and you're ready 0-2 like this, it is a rough scene. So I was trying to get on the map and play what I can, salvage what I can. The mid lane matchup's pretty tough on the 1v1, but trying to make it there to ease the blow, try to make it to top to swing some things back. I think, Tango usually does a pretty good job of staying alone. In this case, kind of taking an ego fight. It was pretty close. Maybe a few more autos would do it. You can see the
Yeah, that was
bounce
pretty
back of the
close.
Q. It's right there. I see the angle. I don't hate that at all because that's one of those plays that can win you the game. But similar to game one is like if I'm on the other side of the map trying to strong side and I'm giving up significant resources, and in this case maybe only giving up because we die, but then I don't get anything, and if anything we lose thanks to another Sejuani gank, then all of a sudden you find yourself in a pretty precarious spot where, okay, I just spent all this time on the map, wasted tons of tempo, and nothing was actually accomplished. And once again, that just goes back to Femboys playing it well, finding picks despite being, at least on the surface, outnumbered or on paper what I thought would be outmaneuvered. But they find the angles, Polar picking on Mr. Bufa yet again, Ririca doing well in this counter pick matchup, and then just bot lane on our end. Not quite getting enough done.
Yeah, I perfectly said. That's kind of how I would expect this to go. Lead being on the ward, that feels bad. Um, but yeah, it's tough because I think you guys, I don't want to say like signed up to the Femboys like style of gaming, but you gave them the opportunities that like their style of play can be like super effective against you guys. But yeah, Polar, as you mentioned, you know, doing what some top laners would say is the Lord's work, camping up there and just overall like making sure that this Jax gets off the ground, gets an early lead, and puts pressure on the map because that's one thing.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Bufa, it's the devil's work.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. What depends on what end, what the receiving point of view is. But
Mm-hmm.
I do like getting this Infernal Drake early, just to try and make sure that the scaling is much more effective here. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
but
well played to them, and we fought back pretty well in the mid game, where there's another kind of instance top lane just trying to keep Mr. Bufa in the game. We talk about Femboys not always being on the same page. So despite the fact that we're down in gold, we do have lead Lee Sin. That's one of his favorite picks. He can always make stuff happen with it. And we're still kind of in it through some mid game fights, just finding numbers, finding maybe an overstepping Ashes or some other overstepping members later on in the game. Uh, but at a certain point, they really just took over on the side lane with this Jax, this LeBlanc as well, just kind of popping in, being able to do what she wants. Don't really have a reliable front line to stand up to any of it, so made it pretty tough to navigate come later on.
yeah, I feel like that's kind of been the when you're seeing the games that Femboys get early leads on and can really establish their style of play. That's what I tend to see is either you pick a little too much scaling, um, in this case like the Sivir or Syndra, and then they can capitalize on the early game, or you try to match the brawling style with no super tank and make the game chaotic, and then their hands the hand checks come into play, and they're very good at that as well. So um, yeah, the coordination on their end is definitely what's lacking, and that's where I think they ultimately can get exposed at. Um, I know you guys are a fantastic team as far as comes to coordination, but yeah, this is kind of a feels bad here. Um, You're just kind of skimming into this. You guys, I mean, oh, nice cue. Okay, yep. Lead Leeson.
Always a treat to see.
It is. Sam Lay gets one back. Nice. Yeah, you guys are scrappy as fuck.
Yeah,
It's been
exactly right. I think maybe you talk about the hands. Maybe it goes more in our favor if we do have more of a lead, whether that's top lane or a better mid lane pick. It's pretty satisfied with how bot lane went for the most part. We had a substantial lead ourselves, but the top side of the map for Femboys just really got things running. Nice solo kill from Murica there,
Mhm.
finding the angle under tower. So gold is kind of even, but when you have Pyke, Pyke is not one of those champs that does too much post 20 minutes unless you can hit some really crucial ultis. But in order to do that, you need your team to be getting them that low or kind of finding some miracle hooks. And neither of those happened. So from at least my perspective, it was once again one of those games where it's like, oh man, how do I play this post 20 minutes? And this was cool too. Unsealed Spellbook Sejuani TPing behind us was
Oh, look
pretty
at that.
unexpected.
Was that on your bingo card coming in this series?
Nope, not at all. And it worked, right? Polar just getting around the map, making stuff happen. We thought it would be safe to get that tower and get out, but in comes Sejuani and down goes Nexus, down goes Tango Fish.
That is
See Jax on the other side of the map. They swept us up everywhere.
that is a wild one. I have seen it before, but not that often. Obviously, kind of being in more of the Emerald side of things, I don't think my Elo even knows what that Keystone does. Um, but yeah, that especially specifically on a jungler, that's not something you would you would think this to I don't know think about. It's missile sidestep. Yeah, that's a wild one. I'm kind of glad I
Thanks for speeding through that for me. No,
oh yeah,
no, I just missed. Well played to Polar. I think really finding these angles, not what we had expected to see out of maybe like a substitute jungler. I think he did a pretty good job filling Inferno's shoes on the Sejuani, finding all these creative angles to keep his team really chugging along. And at a certain point, Moon Prince can really get into the game on the Yunara with Lulu alongside him. And a
yeah.
big part of that was Sejuani keeping the rest of the Femboy squad in. You can see how much this Jax ran over the side lane with the lead he built. Uh, Made the game pretty smooth for the Femboys top side, I will say.
Yeah. But again, like you guys, I think the word I keep coming back to is like resilient. You guys just don't. You have no shame of throwing like just a fight at the wind or just taking a Hail Mary play and executing it really well. Because again, like we kept talking about it, but you're up two dragons. You're only down 4K, which is a decent lead. Oh my lord, lead, stop it. Um, and they just keep finding these fights where oh my spell shield tango guys come on yeah like those type of fights where you take these small victories and keep clawing back at games.
Yeah, thank you. Just unfortunately wasn't enough this go around. And
Yeah.
I think this one of the dragon fights they really took over. This was one of the ones that went well in our favor, I want to say. Mr. Buffa getting in the back line, the rest of us
Oh,
managing to as well.
the Sam Lad E after Syndra ult ends up stunning Wangrod in the background. Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah. Um. Then
Bit of a
started.
goose chase on a LeBlanc.
Yep. Yep. There's always one of these. Yep. That
On the
champion's
bone
so
skewer.
annoying.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think it was just like a little later on where, as scrappy as our comp is, they have a much easier setup to play. So unless we keep finding these angles, at a certain point they were able to shut us out.
Mhm.
And yeah, it went pretty long and kills were pretty close, but just couldn't quite make it happen. think the call was to take this soul fight, and Moon Prince had their pop off moment after kind of sitting in the background all game. Late game, I think Moon Prince is super good at navigating late game team fights. Just a matter of getting there. You can see once again most damage in the game. And they took game 3 and brought us to the brink of elimination on game 3 here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is that a Zed? Wait, what?
Yeah, it was pretty spicy from the Femboys side. I think they may have just been doing a little bit of happy drafting, I will say.
Ah,
Zyra came out, and I know they play that in the bottom lane, so that was a consideration. We answer with the Smolder, and the draft just kind of devolved from there with let's just pick whatever, because we don't know what they're playing.
also Zed
Something that
top.
that sounds
Oh,
cohesive. It is, yeah.
wait, what the
There's not too
Okay.
much to look at when you're actually looking at the drafting order. I think it was pretty clear they had a plan with at least the Zillion Kindred, and then for the Trundle support, I don't really know the thought behind that. Maybe I just let Ashes have his fun,
It's wheel of randomness.
and it is a good pick when you're playing this speedy comp. I think that's what ended up working out well for them. Either way,
I
laning wise, we're not too scared of a Trundle support.
Dude, I've made comments before of like the champions that it wouldn't surprise me like Rurika finding success on. I don't know how, knowing him as well as I do, who talked him into playing a Zillion. Because it seems like the most boring champion to him to ever play.
It had to be Polar, right? Like he had
Bro.
himself a good 2 games, and now you're like, let's run the Kindred Zillion, and game
Yeah.
plan worked well for them there.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Rurika's response was, okay, I'll play the Kindred. Like, I, I, okay. That was not on my bingo card at
Yeah,
all,
and it
ever.
was it was surprising to us too, and they navigated it well. I think this required a lot more coordination than what we saw out of them in the first 2 games, and early game went in our favor just by virtue of playing into Zillion and Trundle support.
Also,
Lead definitely got out on the map and made some stuff happen on this Rek'Sai.
like I can respect the Rek'Sai. I know Halo Blade's Rek'Sai has been popping off, even though he went the Conquer variant here. Uh, doesn't Smolder get Q stack or just passive stacks off the Zyra plants?
Yeah, so that's why we picked it. Was thinking it'd
Okay,
be Zyra bot. Let's go for the
okay.
Smolder, something that can stack up, and that was the angle there.
I
At a
res-
certain point, and this is way down the line, I know we're still in early game. It just got outranged by this Kindred who really dropped just a nuke on us.
yeah. I.
Polar may be the best level 120 non-jungler player I've ever seen. I will say it.
Oh, yeah. You
But
guys.
Lead made some stuff happen in the early game to keep us close, and really feel like we were in a good spot to win this one.
I like after all this stuff I was looking at, there's still a Zed top as well. I haven't even like. I don't. Okay. I don't want to say they forefund this draft, but definitely look like they took some creative liberties. That's probably the safe way to phrase it. Um,
That'd be a fair way to word it. Yeah.
I yeah, I really like the Smolder and the Zyra. There is a Zyra mid player in Herald. I think you gave me an idea.
Yeah, it worked out well, and this game we kind of played the opposite, or at least I played the opposite of the other 2 games where I was on something that wanted to roam more. Here I am on Seraphine, like yeah, let's stick in the bottom lane more, and that gave Tango Fish a more serviceable lead to work with rather than leaving him on an island, and so that was
Yeah.
I think pretty nice for him.
hmm Yeah, this is a pretty good angle where it's just in Smolder we trust. After it hits 225, it's feel very good about this. Um, even
Mr. Boofa.
Boofa. Okay, so this
So what happened?
yeah, I was like this early game went in your guys' favor. Nice.
Yeah, I think there's maybe arguments. Okay, we should have dragon stacked more when we're up this far ahead. They did a good job kind of roaming around the map. This Zed made stuff happen around the map. I think somehow Kindred just finding ways to get marks. The top side kept them in it, and when you have Zillion, Kindred, and a team of our caliber, just unfortunately not good enough to keep pace and make sure we really stay in it and can punish with our lead. Uh, whether that's objective stacking, whether that's not overreaching as much, who knows? But in this case, our first straight coming in at like 9.5 minutes, few overextensions here or there, and the Femboy squad. It was an interesting game because it was kind of the opposite look of what we maybe have come to expect, where they are playing this coordinated style. Ashes is on the map, on the trundle and running around wreaking havoc. Ryrika Zillion has to play this supportive role and play around jungle, facilitate the rest of the team. And they did it well enough to keep themselves in it where we don't have this huge gold lead to really capitalize on.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a misdirection compared to how they normally play. So it is unique for sure. Um. This Polar kind of feeling a turret dive there. There's just so many. I I I use this term loosely, but there's just so many bullshit buttons that their team has. It's just like you gotta think about Kindred ult, you gotta think about Zillion ult. If you make the wrong engage, you've got Zyra ult. It's just like a team comp.
Yeah,
You don't really. You're just shrugging your head. Like, how do I play against this? It's like an ARAM comp. You're like, it works, but I didn't expect it to work.
yeah, and when you can get the ARAM comp into the ARAM, it definitely works. Even the trundle there with the pillars kind of getting dropped down, that was always a bit of a concern. And so as much as we were able to run over this bottom lane and lead really getting off the ground on the Rek'Sai, they kept themselves in it. And that was maybe a good moment for them, getting 2 kills on Kindred, maybe the start of that Polar snowball. It was a lot more kind of back and forth over the next 10 minutes or so, where just teams trading blow for blow, as tends to happen in both Mapoho Coalition and
Oh, nice one.
Femboys games.
Yeah, this is just chaotic. I'm glad I didn't cast this one. Holy shit. Um, yeah. Oh my lord, I hate Zed.
Some
That
good damage, yeah.
that's been my permaban for like 6 years. I hate that champion. I'm trying to just see like it seems like just this person gets picked on, and this person gets picked on, and now Ashes is getting picked on. Nice actually blast cone there from Bufa. Moon Prince is now getting picked on. It's just
Yeah, I mean, we were doing a good job pushing the pace. I think just objective stacking would have helped. Trying to like recognizing the win con is this Kindred and playing around that better because this Kindred really did take off in this game. You can see really the only one with kills and comparable gold with the 4 kills, 130 CS. So Polar navigating that marksman hyper carry, 80 carry pretty well, and I think they just kept farming it up and found these fights, found these side lane picks. There's a shutdown onto Aurora, goes onto the Kindred again.
hmm
There was another fight, I think much later on in top lane, but things like those, just those little things where they stayed in it and through that bit by bit, stack by stack, eventually this Kindred Zillion becomes fully online. You even have the Trundle to back it up with more speed and run at you type style. And we just could not stand up against that, unfortunately.
yeah. It's yeah. This ends up becoming like super hard as it's scaled into it. Oh, though, nice Aurora out there. Um, like you guys have punches to throw and tools as well, but it's just becomes a really hard, difficult thing to like cooldown track who's got what and when can we go in on this and that. It's like it's 25 to 12, but you're only up 4K. So they have 2 turrets to 4, 3 dragons. So it's it just kind of
And they found some good shutdowns onto the Kindred.
yeah.
I think, like I said, they were able to play
Oh
this
yeah,
coordinated
there we go.
game
There's 4 items
that
on
made it
Kindred. Yeah.
happen. Yeah, I think if you rewind a little bit, there's one top lane play I definitely want to show off because that was like the highlight of Kindred Zillion. Can't remember when exactly it was. You can speed through it. There, good Drake fight for them there. That helps things. Uh,
Fla- Rurika playing Zillion. Oh, okay. Bye, Zed. Oh, Samlad. Sorry, we didn't see that.
nope, didn't see anything at all.
Nope.
Don't worry about the comms during that moment either. It was just
Oh.
a lot of clean, PG words for sure.
Oh,
None of that type of stuff that gets players banned.
yeah, we definitely don't. No comment. I'm just not even. I'm not gonna take the bait there. I, yeah, I do remember a specific moment earlier in the split where Tango ulted, Ash ulted a Nico clone. So, haven't been
We
present
all
for
have
that.
those moments,
Been
you know.
present for that one. I can imagine how the comms were. Um,
uh, yeah, similar story here, right? We keep overextending. Kindred keeps landing on these kills, and they're able to snowball that pretty well enough to the point where, boom, now they're just running at us. You can see now they have the gold lead, and our Smolder's actually outranged by Kindred at this point, as well as having to navigate around the Zyra and the Trundle slows. So, I think Tango did pretty good given the game state he was in, but just really, really tough game for an 80 carry to play.
yeah, I even bought the Seekers just to try and give himself a few more tools here. Yeah, it's maybe the best way I can explain it, just kind of skimming through this, is it just didn't look like you gave this game enough time to like actually breathe and be able to take stock of what's going on and overall just try to just stabilize lanes and good lord, that was a quick ass Baron. The fuck? Zyra
Yeah, you got
things.
the Zyra, and she ulted for those empowered plants as well. And then
Okay.
Kindred wailing away too. I mean, look at it by
Yeah.
this point. 19 kills on the Kindred. Polar had himself a series.
Yeah. Yep. So just again, kind of skimming, getting to the end of this, and oh yeah, there's our last
And in
fight here.
heartbreaking fashion, the Poho Coalition goes out.
Yep.
Everybody's devastated.
Yeah, yeah. For sure. I know I was when I caught
As long as
those.
CLT is devastated, that's
Yeah. I mean,
appreciate the
overall,
remorse.
I mean, you guys had a really good split. I think had a really big moment defeating, what was it, Incarnate or Mythos when they were undefeated earlier in the split.
I think it was Mythos, but I know, that may have just been one of those things where on the day, a few people are off on their end and a few people are on our end. We'll take it though.
Yeah, yeah, it was Mythos here in week 4. So had some really good solid moments here, and I think like there was I mean, fighting for the spot against Scorch. I think you just have a couple things go your guys' way. I think you could definitely make a case for being a little higher, maybe even a little deeper into this playoffs. But I think the one thing that the whole league is definitely got respect for you guys is just how gritty you guys can be, even in losing like game states. How you can just sit back, scrap, and fight, and take a lot of these fights. I could argue that maybe this was just a bad matchup for you guys because, uh,
I don't think it's great. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier, and I don't want to like go back into it too depth, but these guys are very chaotic. We use the word uncoordinated or not as high on the coordination compared to other teams, and they thrive in these type of like solo queue feeling games. So I definitely don't think you guys match up that great into them. But the other teams, I mean, you keep scrapping, you keep fighting. So there's a lot of respect there. I know I called you and Tango the best bot lane in the league. I still stand by that. Even though the other
Yeah, much
bot
love.
lanes, even though the other bot lanes like seem to really kick it in the high gear into these playoffs. So, and also like maybe Baron the Seraphine from Nexus, because like he doesn't play melee supports anymore.
I'm a changed man, and it worked, right? I mean, it was a
Yeah.
fun split. This was our, overall a successful split on my books. I think the boys had a lot of fun with it. A good set of teams throughout the league. We had a few good games here or there. A lot of series went the distance. A few short ones towards the end of the year here, or end of the split rather. But a lot of people got some individual love, which I know people on our team were appreciative of.
Hmm.
But then the biggest thing, first time making playoffs. That's awesome from a competitive standpoint. And then most importantly, it was a fun time as always.
Yeah, that's all that matters. Even though we keep reminding Sam Ladd about his Yone performance, like I think you guys are a treat to have around. And I had to get that in.
Free
But
Sam lad. Make fun of Mr. Buffa, man. 1-12 Olaf.
uh,
That's got to be worse than the Yone. Uh,
yeah, I got nothing. You're probably right. No, I think overall you guys are super, just a treat to have around. You guys don't take this turbo serious, but you do play the wind, and even when you don't, you you still have no issues looking back at it and saying you have fun, even doing this podcast and reliving this nightmare, some people could term it. So,
yeah,
but
not a
yeah.
problem. And that wraps up for quarterfinals, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that was our upper bracket quarterfinals, and then our lower bracket quarterfinals after that.
Losers
So
bracket.
losers bracket. Sorry, you are correct. It is losers bracket. So um, I don't know when we're gonna have the next episode come out regarding semifinals, loser semifinals, and the loser bracket finals. Because I know there's quite a few games to go over with that. I think these
Another what,
two.
5-3-5,
Uh,
or is it three?
there's a lot of
I think it's
games.
3-5-5.
Something
Like
like
another
that,
13
yeah.
games.
I
Looking
don't.
forward to it though.
Yeah, yeah. We'll figure it out. 4, 5, and 5 were the games. So, but yeah. So I'm glad everybody could tune in. Sorry it took a little late getting out, but trust us, we will try to get the next episode out. Maybe during the weekend, if not early next week. We'll just see what we can vibe and flow together. I do got Herald League tomorrow, so for those guys still itching to watch some league, go check out Herald League. I know those boys over there are putting a very big foot forward to not only have fun but to make some competitive league. You'll see a lot of really cool, fun, interesting picks come in there, and yeah, it's just there's a lot going on, but a lot of fun. So, Nexus, you got anything to say to close this out, bro?
Nothing you haven't hit, man. Just another pleasure filming this
Mhm.
with you, and excited for what's to come in Lowell Midwest.
Yep, yep. All right. Well, deuces, everybody. Have fun, and this should be out on the 15th. We'll upload it now. Later.